epic.
A little less so now.
Good morning, Matt.
No, good morning, Will.
And good morning to all of you.
Welcome to Games for Breakfast, the only breakfast talk show. We're going to talk about this week's gaming and tech news, but also that I can actually say, without a doubt, that the coffee I am drinking is thanks to a vampire, because it is October 2nd. And what happened this weekend, Will, was I was running my Curse of Strahd game. We had a 9-hour game. It was intense. They're in the highlands of Barovia. It's cold, it's scary, it's nonsense. And during this, my players decided, we really want some coffee like in real life. We're going to be a little bougie. We're in the middle of this game. We're going to order coffees. We never do this. And so we all put in orders for coffees to be brought to our location. And everyone put in their order, and everyone got a kind of coffee. There was a little bit of a cup here, there, latte, mocha, whatever. But my sweet, sweet turtle wizard, his character's name is Hazos. When Hazos got his coffee, Hazos, it wasn't coffee. It wasn't like a coffee. It was a ground thing of coffee. Like, they sent a full package of coffee, and now it's mine. Because he left it here. And it smells really good. I'm sorry if that was a long story, but I don't know. I win.
I feel like it's worth it. I feel like the coffee one drinks when adventuring in Barovia needs to be laced with like caramel and chocolate. Like, I feel like it needs like a certain like,
and colloidal silver, I think, is really how you tell who your friends and your enemies are.
Don't.
But I'm saying, if you're a vampire,
you're gonna make we're minutes into this episode. You're gonna make me get bright red text that says "Do not do this" out again. We can't repeat the bit. That was last week's bit. We need
fair. Will, how was your weekend?
It was pretty good. I am enjoying the nice fall weather. I've been out working on Pokemon Go stuff, and the weather this weekend was particularly nice for it. So I'm enjoying it greatly.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Y'all, we have a lot of stories to get to this week. I want to remind Janet, watching this on Tuesday, that there is, so I knew there was a pre-show over on Twitch when we do this on Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. There's a pre-show. We talk through some stuff. We thank people for subs. We talked to Brad in the community over there. I learned some fun facts about Command & Conquer over there today. Ants. Because that's how you get ants. But I did not know, and Brad has told me, that there's not only a pre-show, but there's a pre-show.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
And a pre-show. The pre-show, Will and I aren't even a part of.
That is correct.
But chat and Brad gets together and has like a pre-show.
That's correct.
In the chat. And I just realized that there are now 3 pre-shows to this show.
That's correct. So we should probably break that down. Before we even go live, while Matt and I are setting up for this, Brad is already congregating and beginning their ritual chants. In the pre-show, which is the countdown to let everyone get in here and get everything, a hype train started in the pre-show. And then in the pre-show, we talk and we iron out audio issues and everything. Kurbachi,
anyway, so
we see everything. I am the great eye, always watching.
So if any of those shows of the pre-variety interest you, please come over and hang out before this gets recorded on Monday. We'd greatly love to see you there. And also, if you do and you are comfortable, say hi and let us know that you are coming from Janet to become Brad for a day or for however long you want.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Matt, we gotta talk about stuff now.
Okay. Wait, that's us.
That is us. So this is very self-referential, and this is breaking my brain a little bit because it's like our set, but in a little anyway. I can't think too hard about it. Last week we changed our thumbnail up and we changed the title up, and you all seemed to like it.
Yay!
Lots of people commenting that while they thought Extra Breakfast was good, they had no idea what it was about. So, that's good. Julian 4286 says, when I first saw Extra Breakfast, I thought y'all had started the food channel. Yeah.
Yup. You would be correct to think that.
Right.
I look back to 5+ years ago, and we started doing this show, and we're just like, oh, this will be a silly thing. And like, I don't know. It's, I do wish we didn't just fall in love with the name and we came up with something that was a bit more.
Look, I feel like we needed. It's difficult, right? Because like we're very proud of the show that we're doing, and individual parts of it are hard to let go.
Yeah.
Right. And so we had to get over that. We had to get over that. But Kelsey says, I've been following Extra Credits in one form or another since the very beginning of Escapist. I had no idea what Extra Breakfast was when I first saw it here. My first thought was that you were going to review breakfast food or food-oriented games.
Yup. Again, you would be correct to think that.
Right.
We were so in our own little bubble and excited to get this on. We're like, oh, it's great. Doesn't matter what it could be called, anything. We would have named it Flixel Sticks, but it was taken.
Right. I feel like we were, in some ways, super guilty of, like, the podcast syndrome thing, where we're like, one of the problems that we routinely have is that, and podcasts in general have, is the title is too clever. The title is too clever and conveys none of what's actually going on.
So that is definitely a problem with podcasts and thumbnails and titles and graphics. I don't know if this falls. I think this is, because Extra Breakfast is cute,
That's
but
fair.
It doesn't make sense for anyone outside of 10% of people. Like, I would imagine, even when we started on Twitch, who was around in Brad right now? Who was around when Extra Breakfast starts? I know a few of you were. When you saw the title, did you have any idea what this thing would be?
Grass says that he thought it was a Hobbit joke.
Great. Again, this is, I always want to admit,
yeah,
when a foible has occurred.
Correct.
And this foible just happened to be 5 years, and then when it moved to YouTube, it kind of got called out in a larger quantity.
I like Zips. I had no clue what it was. I was just here for chaos. That's accurate. No, that's fair. The early days were even more chaotic than these.
I was in a monitor. I was in a little tiny monitor because I didn't have a green screen.
We were both in our pajamas.
We were both in our pajamas, and we ate like a lot.
My tummy hurts thinking about it. I can't eat that much breakfast anymore. Yeah. Okay. So, and then we get one question that comes up a fair bit with the talk shows, and we thought this would be a good place to address it. So I will ask the question of Matt, and we will go from there. Matt, these are very different than our other animated content. Why are these not on their own YouTube channel?
Well, dear William, a couple different reasons. So we talked about this, I think, briefly when we were on Twitch. We talked about this when we were thinking of moving them over. But I don't think we ever actually talked about them on the YouTube side of things. So there would be pros and cons to that type of thing. As you know, if you're watching this, or maybe you don't, I have no idea. Let us know in whatever comments or Blue Sky us or whatever. But the way that we had just moved the gaming stuff to its own channel to let history go do its history thing, and because we noticed that disparate, now this is very important for this explanation, disparate topics were hurting each other in the algorithm.
Yep.
But what we have been told from multiple people, both inside and outside of YouTube, I believe even the algorithm itself has whispered to us at one point that this is the case.
Oh, that's what the Eldritch whisperings that were giving me visions of the strange Oblivion knife were. Okay.
And there's always an exception to this rule. But so long as the type of content, and I'm not saying structure of content, I'm sorry, the topic of content is the same on a channel, multiple different styles of show can work and do not negatively affect the channel as a whole. What we are seeing, however, because and the reason why we wanted to put these talk shows on the YouTube channel itself is, one, we absolutely love doing them, and we think there is actual, not only value for us, for me, Will, and Jeff, but like it lets us do a couple different things that we just can't do in the animated space. The thing that has always really crushed me with the very specific style of show we do is we cannot address things in a timely manner in the classic animated style. Our shows take, at best, at a rush job, 5 weeks to really get through. I think we did 1 in 4 once. But even by those standards, we can't be topical. We couldn't talk about half of the things that we're going to talk about today or any of these episodes in that moment. And also, what I really like about the juxtaposition of Games for Breakfast and Design Club is Will and I get to have sort of the I don't know, more emotional, I guess sort of like the player experience or like the user experience of the piece of news story and how that affects us. And the design side, on the Design Club side, is more of a dig into, especially with Jeff's sort of designer brain, being a game designer for 20 plus years in the industry, etc.
It's almost 30. We caught his realization live on camera as he did the math and thought it and was like, oh, it's been almost 30. And I just got to watch the whole journey. It was great. It was so good.
You watched him turn to dust. So I really appreciate that we can do that. Now, here's some, and we see that the growth trajectory of these shows, while still going fairly slow to mid, for doing a pivot of the style of content into this, it's actually still doing the right amount of numbers when it's supposed to be. Like, it's actually doing what it's supposed to be doing. And it would not have grown even this far if we did put it on its own channel. Right. And since we do not believe currently that it is actually hurting the other content, that is why it's still here. Now, the other content, full disclosure, we've noticed drops in the numbers of the animated shows as well. But we right now, and we're still, look, if and when we are proven wrong, we will fail faster and maneuver and do all of those things. But we're noticing more that it is show topic that for the animated stuff that is actually really the driving force. So we just did some phenomenal episodes. The one that just came out last week was on supermarket psychology. And like, I think what that might suffer from too, that is doing middling numbers right now. It's a fascinating thing. And our graphic is like a tiefling sort of like holding, because it's about how games have learned from the psychology of supermarkets, how they manipulate you to buy things, etc. In-game stores, which we'll actually be talking about in a little bit, also kind of do that as well. Things like that, or the Wild Tale of Dark and Darker, which I found fascinating, but again, we got out too late because that was 3 months prior, like that was really the story, and we can only talk about it in animated form, whatever. Those aren't doing that hot. What is doing hot is things like fixing Magic's turn 1 problem. I think that's the fastest growing episode we've had, honestly, probably since the D&D episode or the Death of Rock Band episode. Mm-hmm. And so we're looking at those types of styles of show and trying to maneuver our scripts moving forward to fall into those niches, because that seems to be where the audience is generally. The other side of this, and I'm sorry I'm going on crazy long, is that we are a slow-moving ship. We are not a speedboat. We are a cruise liner. And so we have scripts still in production, sort of from our old style of thinking, et cetera, that we were going to push through and try our best to fill the niches that we can. But yeah, I hope that answers your question a little. Mm-hmm. I truly believe, and we at Extra Credits believe, that even though there are pros and cons to keeping this content on this channel, the pros do outweigh the cons and will outweigh them more so as time progresses. Again, we could be wrong. Yep. But we're going to find out. We have some internal dates set to see how things are going, and it's not something that we're just ignoring and throwing stuff up as much as Will and I's naming conventions seem to be in that particular wheelhouse. Right. So that's why it's here. And that's why we really believe in it and like doing it. And we hope you all do too. We all totally understand if people aren't signing on for something that's longer than 8 minutes and not animated, because the art is entirely just a wonderful aspect of how we do things at Extra Credits, and I love it so much. It's what made me fall in love with the channel before I was involved with it. But this is just an opportunity to talk with you more and talk about stuff that would slip through the cracks otherwise or wouldn't be timely. So that's why it's here. We hope you stick around, and if not, it's okay. Every other week you're gonna have an animated credits, Got to be some other stuff coming up. There's some things. Don't worry about it. It'll be fun.
And we're hoping that with the thumbnail change and with the naming convention change, it will be obvious what you're clicking on when you're clicking on it for every video of ours. That is one of our goals that we're consistently working towards.
Is that something that someone brought up in one of the comments below? No, I think it was in. I was just looking at the show notes. Someone mentioned, and I didn't even think of this. It's such a great note, and I wish we got it earlier.
Yeah.
Just seeing me with the headphones on in the thumbnail, like, because before we had images of us, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't like sitting at microphones doing the thing, right? Yeah. It was just us being like, hey, and that doesn't work because people are like, what are they doing? Why are they floating with Diva or with Overwatch characters in this? Like, what is this? But when this visualization, even in the thumbnail, you understand, oh, it's an hour. They're wearing headphones. They have microphones. Oh, this is like talk show content. Yep. So I was very thankful to hear that because that's just one of those things where it's like, why didn't I think of that before me being a dummy?
Yep.
You know? Anyway.
Absolutely. 100%. Speaking of things that we would never get a chance to talk about in animated space because it's too small and too fast moving. Let's talk about Nvidia real quick. Over the last week, the French offices of Nvidia got raided. This is from Reuters on September 28th. France's competition authority raided Nvidia's local offices last week on suspicion the chipmaker engaged in anti-competition practices. Wait. One of the two major manufacturers of a thing that almost every computer needs might be engaged in anti-competition practices? Say it is not so. How could
la jeune fille. That's the only thing I know how to say in French. It's I am a little girl, I think, and I believe it was from the Muzzy commercials back in the day. Those
nice.
the animated thing is like when the guy walks in the frame and the little girl says, "Je suis la jeune fille," and then no, a woman walks in, she goes, "No, it doesn't matter." He goes, "Those children aren't French; they're American." And you're like, Jesus Christ. Okay, cool. Thanks, Muzzy. There's a memory that I didn't know I had.
You've just lost half of the audience because they're too young to remember Muzzy.
Google Muzzy.
No, don't go down this rabbit hole.
It's the most important thing you can do today. Google Muzzy and see if you can find, I think it was a set of like 12 VHS tapes per language that taught children different languages.
Okay, I got you. I will be your youth interpreter. Kids, you know the Duolingo owl, the one that's coming for your kneecaps if you ever miss a day in your streak? Muzzy was that, only kinder and more animated.
This was a commercial. This was a commercial. It was all during Saturday morning cartoons. I love it. But you know, this is so interesting. And actually, this plays into a story coming down the pipe later. There are elements of our lives, especially when we are young, that like just dig into your brain. And no matter, so whenever someone brings up French or France, I think of Je suis la jeune fille and I think of Muzzy. And I can't not.
Now, would you say that it's like a tadpole that sort of like gives you some kind of psychic backlash powers against people around you?
Yeah, I think here's what it is. The tadpole ability here, the mind flayer parasite in my brain makes me feel good because I get the dopamine hit, but you know how they all have kind of like negative effects too in Baldur's Gate 3?
Right.
I think the negative effect is it actually, while it makes me feel warm and fuzzy, it alienates everyone around me.
Right, yeah. That's right. Also, some people, regardless of their age, have no idea what you're talking about.
Does anyone in Brad, does anyone in chat, or Janet, put it down there. Type it in. If you know what Muzzy is, you got to do it for me. You have to, please.
Okay.
I need this.
I'm going to reel this in. I'm going to reel.
Hey, what's Nvidia doing?
That's right. Okay, cool. So Nvidia got raided by the French police.
By Muzzy.
Don't loop this.
Muzzy's in a flak jacket. He's coming in and being like, there's some anti-competitive stuff going on here.
Screams, this is the police to open up in 12 languages before kicking the door.
He's like an eldritch horror. He says all of them in those languages at the same time.
Oh, right.
So you just hear like, and everyone's like, but it also works as a command word, like, so it actually just happens.
Right. Yeah. Oh, it's like a spell. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, no, Nvidia's not saying anything. The French aren't saying anything, but it's always interesting when somebody gets raided, right? That's generally not a thing that happens lightly. Like, the anti-competition authorities aren't like, I guess we'll randomly choose someone. There's generally pretty solid evidence. They generally need to get a warrant before they raid a company. So we expect to be hearing something about this from Nvidia and them pretty soon.
I hope that when Muzzy kicked down the door, the Nvidia scientists dropped their chips and just yelled, "Je suis la chauffée."
That's exactly how it happened, Matt. In a similar story of people breaking into corporations and taking stuff,
Sly Cooper's at it again.
It may have been Sly Cooper. Sony has been the subject of a ransomware attack. They
haven't commented on this yet at this point.
They've said that they're investigating the situation.
That's it.
But they're not gonna say that they got completely pwned. They're gonna say that they, that all of our data is probably safe, or that they probably didn't, get a hold of terribly much. But the ransom hacker group claims that they got significant access to Sony systems, and they posted a file tree with like more than 6,000 files, and they posted some internal documents and like a PowerPoint.
And the weird
hackers,
thing about...
By the way, this is a free one. For the hackers out there, for messaging, no one cares about the PowerPoint. Like, you got to tell us what's in the PowerPoint. You can't just be like, we got a PowerPoint. That's like the hacker equivalent of, I've got to draw off dirt, right? Like,
I don't know. Look, the thing I find interesting about this story is I believe they basically weren't going to like try to hold Sony hostage, right? They're basically not trying to sell the information back to them or get a payout from Sony to get them to not leak it. They're just offering to sell it.
Yep.
And I think I'll adjust what you've said, Will. The selling of it, I think it's hard to sell something you don't know what it is. Although going back to game logic and even like convention logic, I have been seeing more and more things pop up lately where you can spend $30 on a random cardboard box that has an anime character on it that you like at booths, and you can see what you get. So maybe there's some mentality there that actually works.
It's so weird because like at cons, I am absolutely the target audience for those, and they do not appeal to me at all.
Maybe we're just not the target audience.
That's true. Maybe it's the people who have like it's not like a shrine, but like the wall dedicated to their favorite anime, right? Like there's the whole wall that's full of like plushies and Nandroids and like all of the figures and whatever. And I don't have one of those. I don't have room for one of those.
Yeah.
But I do have a closet full of Magic cards, so maybe I should just stop.
Is the closet like full of Magic cards? Like, is this, because when you say that, I picture the comical door opening.
Oh,
right?
It's not that bad.
And like it's
They're
just
organized.
Stacked. Oh, okay.
They're in boxes, and it's not full. It is a closet in which I store my Magic cards and various other nerd accoutrements.
You have various traps set with the baubles that you have acquired over the course of your days.
Right, yeah, trinkets and baubles.
Thingamabobs, you've got 20. All right. Well, hopefully that works out for Sony.
Yeah, hopefully.
Sony just gets hit left and right.
Yep,
Maybe
absolutely.
it's time to update their NordVPN or something. I don't know.
That's not okay. Anyway,
Nord would I suggest that?
Yeah. Everybody put on your take it off caps. It's the end of an era that no one remembers. So Mojang keeps releasing different like, hey, we made Minecraft. You like Minecraft, you'll like our other games. Not realizing that much like many other one-hit wonders, no one cares about the other thing that they're doing. They just care about Minecraft.
It's actually not.
It's not. It could be though. Nord, call me, baby.
Yeah, look at this great.
We'll do breakfast.
That's our pitch to every sponsor. It's like, yeah, come on.
Call us. We'll do breakfast. It'll be great. So Minecraft Dungeons has reached end of support or end of new content. It's in version 1.17, and there will be no new content planned for Minecraft Dungeons. A reminder that this is not the most recent Minecraft spin-off game that Mojang has put out. The other more recent spin-off is Minecraft Legends, I think, which is the semi-RTS that no one also plays because it's not Minecraft. Again, these are sort of like the these are more extreme examples of the Pokemon spin-off games, right? This is like the Pokemon pinball. Some people will really love it. They'll really love everything about it, and they'll keep playing it forever. But for most people, you play Pokemon pinball because the next generation wasn't out yet. The next Minecraft patch wasn't out yet, so people played Minecraft Dungeons.
So I have no problem. I never played Minecraft Dungeons. I'll say two things about it. One, it was the only Minecraft thing that ever actually, like, its art and marketing, I guess, was the only thing that ever grabbed my attention for Minecraft. But two, couldn't have done it good enough because I never played it. And also,
it was fine.
It's fine. Great. It seems like it could be a good time. This game came out May 2020. I'll say this. I want to make sure that, like, it sucks if people are still actively wanting things for this specific kind of Minecraft, and that never feels good. But, like, games can be over.
Yeah.
Like, things can be done. Now, it's hard. This is where there's a side, a little caveat, put this over here, is that Minecraft itself is never done.
That's
so
correct.
when Minecraft does a spin-off and then finishes or closes that spin-off, it feels worse.
Right.
Because its core is something that is constantly updated no matter what.
Well,
so,
and here's the other problem, too, which is that the core Minecraft experience already delivers something like this, right? Do you want an ARPG in Minecraft? Cool. There's a mod for that. So
I can see, look, yes, and I can see making a commercial product instead of a mod because not everybody engages with mods.
I 100% agree, including the entire Bedrock user base, right? Again, for those not familiar, Minecraft is actually two games that are developed in parallel with one another, but they are very different in a lot of small and very large ways. One of them is Java has mods and Bedrock does not. Not really. There are some very limited things you can do with Bedrock, but for the most part, no mods. So, yeah. That's the end of Minecraft Dungeons. We'll look forward to see what Mojang comes out with next.
Yeah, who knows?
Who does indeed even know? Speaking of who knows, if you are the one who knows about things that are happening in a company, maybe don't tell your friends over Xbox 360 chat.
Yo, but bro, like, no one's listening though, right? Like, cause like it's on a video game, so like they're not like monitoring that.
Yeah, that's correct. So, okay, I'm not making any of the words in this up. Okay, I promise.
I'm just gonna add bro every once in a while.
Thank you, please. So a trader at Goldman Sachs,
bro,
has been accused by the FBI in an indictment,
bro,
of passing insider tips over the Xbox chat system to his friends, who then made about $400,000 off of the insider stock tips.
Bro.
Because, quote, there's no tracing it.
Bro?
Apparently, people do not understand how the internet works.
If I say bro enough, it confuses whatever recording system is in place. And it will not, it's the equivalent, if you just say bro 13 times in a sentence, it's the equivalent of rubbing a magnet over a cassette tape. It just really, or a VHS, you know? That's what I mean, that's what my brain does. I don't remember anything that people say if they put enough bros in the sentence.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's untraceable. System flag triggered. Authorities contact. Yes, 100%. It's this, right? This is what it is. Yeah, so maybe not the best move. If you're kids, so I'm gonna issue some advice, Matt. I'm gonna issue some general life
Sure,
advice.
no, it's good.
Again, we're not lawyers. Don't do illegal insider trading things. Tip 1. Tip 2, it will behoove you, regardless of your position on tip 1, to believe that all communications that you engage in over the internet are recorded somewhere in a manner that can probably, like, if it's not like a secure peer-to-peer connection and you know who you are, if you actually need like end-to-end encrypted stuff. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool, great, awesome. But like, if you don't know, you assume that everyone can read it, right? And maybe don't say in your list of, or in your chat where you talk about insider trading, that it's totally untraceable, bro. Like, that's not a good look, because then not only will you have been arrested for illegal stuff, we'll make fun of you for being stupid about doing illegal stuff, and that's just worse. Right?
Which we know is much worse than the punishments that, well, maybe in the U.S. legal system. Zing! Regardless, don't do crimes specifically over your Xbox gaming headset. Side note, what game do you think they were playing? I know in the story, no one's sure, apparently, if they were playing games or not, or that has not been released. But in this thought exercise for Brad and Janet right now, let us know what you think.
They're suggesting
what games they were playing.
Halo, COD. I like Eternal Paradoxes. I like Eternal Paradoxes so much. It's Harvest Moon. They were playing Harvest Moon.
That's right.
Because they were farming the cash, right?
Mm-hmm.
It ain't honest work, but it's mutts. Grand Theft Auto would indeed be funny.
Oh man, Flixel Sticks in chat. Flixel Sticks. Flixel Sticks. I don't think the beta was out yet when this happened.
Right. Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
And everyone does know that Flixel Sticks has such high levels of encryption,
right?
That no amount of broing could possibly make it have anything illegal inside.
That's 100% correct. So yeah, don't be this guy, or we'll make fun of you on the internet. Seems pretty straightforward. Also, hey Matt, can you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Can I get your best Idris Elba? Reset the clock.
I'm not good at doing Idris Elba. I'm sorry.
I'm not either. But we need one, because we're gonna need to reset the clock. More semi-classified, definitely not for public release documents have been put in the War Thunder forums. That's the story.
Cool. Must be Tuesday.
Stop it.
This has happened before. It will happen again. I don't get it. Makes a little less sense to me, honestly, than doing insider trading on an Xbox 360.
Right? Like, of the two kinds of crimes, right? Insider trading over the Xbox 360 because you believe it's untraceable, or posting classified documents that say DoD and DoD contractors only to an open forum about a video game. I understand the insider trading more.
One is profitable.
Right. This is someone trying to win a nerd argument.
This is my point.
By committing, I'm sorry, like, felonies.
I'm sorry if this whole conversation has gone full Muzzy on you. Let me explain in case you don't know what we are talking about. There is a long history. We have reported on this so many times on this show of the War Thunder community in their forums, people posting classified, unreleased, updated, like, future documents of various machines of war to win nerd arguments.
That's correct.
This is the third or fourth we've covered.
Uh-huh.
It's insane.
Yes.
It's to the point where it feels like a meme. I don't know. Anyway, yay. It's so dumb. I love it.
I'm going to do it again. I'm still not a lawyer. I have not gotten my law degree in the past 5 minutes. Don't do this, you idiots. Don't. And some people are like, oh, well, some of the documents are like, no. You're not a document control expert. You don't get to decide. Don't do that.
It's also interesting. So, okay, there's many possibilities, but I break it up into two. One, it's someone who works at these organizations who's just not trustworthy.
Yeah.
Or those organizations have more leaks than they thought, and if it's getting posted on a video game forum, you're sure as hell sure it is posted to other countries' information servers. Like, it's just all out there.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was just a small one. Every time I feel like we have to hit the checkbox.
Yeah, right. Due diligence accomplished. Next.
Yeah.
Matt, could you please explain this to me?
Okay. So everyone knows I love Mortal Kombat. I've been really enjoying Mortal Kombat 1. Things I have not particularly enjoyed about it have been the way that the unlocks and the currency with a K have sort of been shuffling out. But something happened this last week, end of last week, early this weekend, so a couple days ago, that really got my feathers all ruffled, and I had to kind of check myself. So there was reports on Reddit and a couple other places that the stuff that you unlock, either paid or through the game, was now not available if the game itself could not talk to the home servers, the WB servers. And everyone on Reddit's freaking out. They're doing all this stuff. And I'm like, this is awful. Like, this is absolutely terrible. Like, even down to, like, you unlock a character for beating story mode. This isn't something you buy. It's not a pre-order bonus. You unlock a character in story mode that then just was, the people were saying was not available if you were offline. So I went to go, I was kind of mad at this. I was all prepared to, like, come on here and, like, rah, right? And I still will for a little bit of it. But I wanted to test it, so I booted up mine. I turned off the PlayStation's internet, and I went on, and I logged in, and it said, there was a message that said, can't connect to the servers. Some of your stuff might not be there. But then all of my stuff was there, including this Scorpion skin, which I'm going to talk about in a second with the Flaming Skulls, the Mortal Kombat 9 Scorpion skin that they released in their rotating store, which is its own there. And so then I started doing digging deeper, and more, this seems like it's probably a bug, mostly on the PC side, probably having to do with the Nouveau, though that's not really entirely proven. We just like shoveling stuff their way. So I learned two lessons here, I think, with me sort of like going through the rage cycle of what I want to use this story as a microcosm for how I think all of us feel when a game that we love, or even that we hate enough to pay attention to, like, bad things happen in it. I find that the communities, myself included, go into sort of like a rah, like, oh my god, this is the worst like nonsense thing ever, right? But then it proves that it's not exactly that. It feels like NetherRealm and WB haven't commented on this as far as I know, at least at this point, and it seems like the behavior is a bug. But when we sort of rage about these things, I feel like we miss the point of things that we actually should be raging about. Namely, not that you couldn't have access to this due to a bug and this, that, and the other thing, but just the way that in this particular game, costumes overall are locked. And, like, it does two things. There's no season pass, which I'm thankful for, but I now do not believe that I'm actually wishing there almost was a season pass, because there's no guarantee you get anything, because there's a seasonal one, and then there's a 24-hour store that just rotates. But all of the stuff costs crystals, which is its own little currency. And I think this Scorpion skin, I had crystals from a bonus thing, so I don't know exactly, but I think this would have equated to like $7 or $8. And it's like, I know we've all been guilty of buying a cosmetic for that amount of money. Or maybe not all of us. I have been. Many of us. But, like, I think there are more predatory practices going on in games like this that we've kind of... The safety net of the decorum, I'll even say, has been slowly chipped away, where this all feels kind of normal. Mm-hmm. And it sucks, because I just, again, I'm Muzzy years old. I remember when you bought a game and you just slowly unlocked the things as you played it. And this game is set up in different ways in the invasion modes to unlock things. And some of the stuff, I'll even sing the praises. The invasion mode in this thing you earn special currency for the season that you can then spend on the seasonal things that are up on the store for 4 months. But there's definite FOMO and overpricing of all of this stuff, and I felt like it was being overshadowed by rage about a thing that wasn't exactly what the rage was actually about.
I feel like oftentimes what happens in a lot of these cases is that people like find a thing and they like hook into it, and they're like, this is the thing that, you know, is wrong with this game, and there can only be one, and it's this thing, right? So for other games, it's a different it's some, you know, different part about it, whether it's a glitch or a choice in design, right? In Apex, it's footsteps bugs, right? Like sometimes other players don't give you audio cues. The audio has been broken in the game since launch, in various, and so whether or not that's the primary issue, it's what people have decided it's cool to be angry about. Yeah. Right. And that's what it feels like here too.
And to miss the comments too, they know that they think they have a fix for it. They don't know if it got applied yet. I don't know either. It's funny. The even if they fix it, it's a bit endemic. Is that the word? It's emblematic, I think, is a stronger one if that one was previously wrong. It's emblematic of kind of how they are treating what you purchase or earn.
Yes.
It is a commodity that they still control, even though it really shouldn't be, and there's no reason other than keeping a live service tap on. In Mortal Kombat, $70. Like,
yeah,
for the base version.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And what I want to make sure we do on this show too, and I know, Will, you do this, I think sometimes when 14 does stuff that you don't like, or other games that you really, really love, pull a bad. I love Mortal Kombat. I love it. It's probably easily top 3 gaming franchises for me. Just, again, I've followed it since its inception because I'm Muzzy years old. I want to call out the praises I've been doing over the course of the week. I think the game is solid. I think it's really fun. I think there's lots of good aspects to it. The story is second to none in this category. But it also has predatory microtransactions in it, and it's not fun, and it feels bad in many ways when it's built off of a sort of FOMO thing that then you also kind of know, due to a bug, they can just turn on and off whenever they want. And so it's important to sort of look at both sides of the coin, even when we're looking at things that we really, really love and hope do well. I find this as a commentary on, like, I want to make sure that these games are good and sustainable for the players, for the devs, for everybody. And I'm seeing a lot of sort of problem here, and it just sucks.
Yep.
So hopefully, I don't know. We'll see how NetherRealm's sales go. We'll see what WB does, if anything. I mean, they'll probably release a patch to fix this thing, but it just sort of like cracked open a thing for me that didn't make me feel great about the game that I've been loving.
Yep. So, Matt, if I had a nickel for every story on our list that was about artificial scarcity, predatory monetization for a thing that we love, and gamers flying off the handle about something, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's kind of weird that it's happening twice in the same week. So
these are the stories, side note, these are the stories that Will and I were like, we're really goddamn passionate about this and we need to talk about them. So I got a Mortal Kombat one and Will got this one.
Right, yeah, okay. So I love the art of Vincent Van Gogh. I love it. I love it a lot. I also love Pokemon. I've been playing a lot of the Pokemon TCG in the digital client because it's free, like free. I need to stress that the digital client is free. You have to jump through hoops to give them money for anything in the digital client. It is absolutely free. I love it. And so when I found out that there was a Van Gogh Museum Pokemon crossover, I was so hyped. And I should have seen this coming, because people, in an attempt to resell these incredibly limited edition promos, descended on the poor Van Gogh Museum like a cloud of capitalistic locusts and bought every piece of merch, every card, everything. And the promo card of this exhibit, seen below, Pikachu with a gray felt hat, which is so cute, and I want it. is now selling for between 300 and 400 USD online.
Yeah. So my story was about a company kind of price gouging.
Yeah.
Your story is about the populist price gouging.
That is correct. Well, and this is kind of this is an ongoing problem with Pokemon, right?
It's an ongoing problem with anything with scarcity.
That's correct. It is it is notable and egregious in the case of Pokemon in that this sort of behavior has caused limits on the number that people can buy in various places. The new set is being cracked in mass. That's at time of recording. That's Pokemon 151 is being cracked in mass in search of the chase rares. I opened a box and I got the chase rare, so I'm done. Yeah, it's a very cool looking Zapdos. But people like this particular problem because Pokemon's valuation is based solely on like cool looking artwork and scarcity. People tend to do this, and it just like it bums me out in so many ways when something that was supposed to be a cool opportunity to like spread art and fun and like maybe like okay, this is sort of my idealistic side, right? How do you convince a kid to go to the Van Gogh Museum? Well, if you go to the Van Gogh Museum, they've got this cool collaboration with Pokemon. Maybe you can go to the Van Gogh Museum and maybe that kid discovers a love of art in a way that they wouldn't have otherwise. Like, this was a potential on-ramp for people to learn and to appreciate art. And people had to be terrible and buy all the stuff and act like hooligans and sell it on the internet. Ah! This concludes my thoughts on the matter. Please don't buy any of this. Please, like that's if you wanna do something about this, don't buy any of these promos at any price, right? From the secondary market. Pokemon is releasing will hopefully be releasing another wave of Pikachu with a gray felt hat. And what I want for Christmas is this card sourced from the Pokemon Company, like ethically, right? I want like an
wow. You need a certificate of authenticity,
right? Yeah, I don't want any scalper sweat in my in my Pokemon cards.
So I really like your idealistic look at it. The reason why I feel a little bit still ick, even more so, is because these are cards, right? These are just cards.
There were cards and prints, and I believe there was a figure of like Pikachu in a felt gray hat.
So like, listen, in the real world, there is a limit to physical items,
sure.
No matter what that is, right? And companies can only produce as many as they can, and And maybe this was them. Maybe the Van Gogh Museum was in charge of sort of some of the numbers, like what they thought, like they put their numbers, like this is what we get so much, this is what we're predicting people come, so we'll need this many and blah, blah, blah. And they probably don't deal with scalpers a ton in general. So maybe they got their numbers wrong and maybe that's why this was. In a way, this is still a net positive for the Van Gogh Museum because we're talking about it. It's something that like will get more people sort of talking about the museum in general that it might not have already in these spaces. I always have a problem when the thing that is limited or when the thing that gets all the scalpers come and take it away is like a card or something very small and cheap to make. Step one, it is scalpers' fault, no question. But step two is you probably could have made double or triple for not a ton more money. Do you know what I'm saying? Like craft made them.
Yeah,
there's different when there's statues or things that take more or craft or time or resources, you know. And I always, it is a tough balance. Merch is a tough balance too. Like I get frustrated, then you look at the mechanics, but then you don't really know really where to blame. The only people that are truly, you can 100% blame is scalpers.
Yeah.
It stinks. It stinks that something nice like this was sort of tainted by by that act. I think there should be. Maybe I should do some research and try to do an episode about this. There's something about, like, what are the main things that have been done to combat, with a K, this in the past?
The big one is that Target and Walmart both instituted during the height of the runs on Pokemon cards, which was during the pandemic, instituted a per customer buy limit.
Yeah.
Actually,
so you need places that are willing to do that,
right? And interestingly, Matt, if I can save us a little time, turns out Jeff and I actually had a conversation about scarcity in the trading card market a couple weeks ago.
Hey!
It will actually be being posted this week on Friday or on Thursday for Design Club.
Look at that. Questions answered.
So you can come and check that out. We actually talk about Lorcana, which is very similar to this, and all of its scarcity issues therein. So we'll leave the rest of that for that, because we are running a bit long in the tooth on this because we're so excited about all the things.
Well, and the last thing I'll say about this is the other thing, and I know that Steam Deck has done it, people are saying in the chat, and I know a couple other sort of hardware companies have done it. PlayStation does this. PlayStation, for a long time, was only selling PS5s on its store when you couldn't get them in stores, and then a lot of its peripherals, you kind of just order directly from PlayStation.
Yep.
Like, PSVR, I think, too, like, released to stores like 3 months after it was available just in its store.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not saying that those are the same level of scalperness as these cards by any means of the imagination, but it's another way if the company has the infrastructure to sort of help in that regard.
Yep. Absolutely.
Anyway, moving on.
Next up, we're gonna talk about the big news of the week. Epic. Epic.
A little less so now.
They're rare now. Wait, they're under.
They went from purple to blue.
Blue drops.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, there are blue drops now.
Yeah.
So they laid off almost 900 people, 16% of their workforce, in one day. They're not. So yeah, that's a big chunk of people in the gaming industry. 16% is 1/6, roughly. 1 in 6 employees lost their jobs at Epic.
So, with all of these types of stories that we do, I will start with the corpo side of the thing first, before I feel like we then kind of tear it down. There is, like, if a company is working correctly, this doesn't happen. Let's say that.
Correct.
Right down. And by correctly, I mean consistent, slow, but long-term growth. What this is, I think, a direct reaction to is correcting the scales on their end in a post-lockdown society. I think they staffed up like crazy. I think they did big pushes because people were stuck at home. And now I think that they're not taking care of those people that carried them through that time, and are now letting them go because it doesn't make financial sense in the current market to keep them on.
Yes.
I do not think that overall staffing up to meet a demand of a certain time is a bad thing, so long, and I don't believe they did this, someone can please correct me when I'm wrong, so long as you make it clear that these jobs, as best as you can, are not this, like, these are additional jobs that have a sort of either a shelf life or a runtime or a project length or something. Right. And you could change that later, but I don't know. For a company that purportedly is kind of making money hand over fist, it's the same, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but it's the same as, like, these streaming services crying poverty that they can't possibly pay the writers. Oops, wait, they did. Like, it's the same kind of thing. Mm-hmm. This is keeping it from a very public perception thing. This is keeping corporate profits up.
Well,
because, like, nothing's being delayed. Well, Fortnite's not being delayed at all.
That's all they care about, Fortnite.
And they're like, some other things may be affected, but those other things aren't making them the money.
Yeah. So a couple of small notes. One, the claim that they are making is that they are not financially sustainable. That is the claim that they have made in their public thing. I am not well versed enough in the monetary side of this. Their claim is that this is a move to ensure financial sustainability. That's a direct quote from the Tim Sweeney email, which they published themselves.
I wonder how much of that sustainability plan was implemented across which side of the board, and how much of thing. And again, not naming any names, Tencent, but what might be at play here based on where the profits go.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I am speaking in conjecture.
Right.
Conjecture. Yeah.
They also divested two sort of other portions of the company. Bandcamp was moved off to Song Trader, and Super Awesome's advertising business got moved out to be an independent company under the Super Awesome brand. But the kids' web services will be remaining part of Epic because that's the part of that company that they really wanted. Yeah.
Other groups like Mediatonic, of Fall Guys fame, was hit really hard. It's not closing, but it's been gutted.
They rearranged their logo to spell decimation.
And they tweeted that. It's funny. Fall Guys is such an interesting case study. I still love Fall Guys, but and I think it's due to, being bought out and then having to change their stuff and their whatever, trying to turn it more into more and more of a live service game. They've sucked the joy out of it. Everything outside of Fall Guys, outside of actually playing the game, is now so convoluted and with its own 9 currencies and crown fragments, and they took a simple, lovable concept and tried milking the most money they could out of it, along with skins that are literally in... there's a Skeletor skin, I wanted it, and I was like, oh, it was only available once in 2022? Cool. Like, I would have paid you $2 right now, but sure, you don't want it. Like, it's a real feel-bad thing, and I don't think that's Mediatonic making those choices. They made the choice to sell. That's fine.
Yeah.
But then you are beholden to things like this. And that's the other side of this very, very sharp damning sword. I feel for all the folks that are laid off from Epic. Man, I just wish companies would think about like the longest term growth, not the like this midterm growth that spikes and then dips and then people get hurt. That's
one of the problems is the fiduciary duty argument. And that's...
Then let's not do that. I'm not yelling at you, but let's not do that anymore. It seems like
Yeah, the problem, and for anyone unfamiliar, you can look into this, and there are people much smarter on the matter than us who have done very long YouTube video essays on this, is that companies, everyone who is running a company is seen as having a duty to maximize profit for their shareholders. And if they are not doing that, then the shareholders can sue to have them.
But this is the weirdest thing. Because maximize, and again, not lawyers, as a pretending to be a lawyer scientist, maximizing profit for the shareholders could mean a couple different things.
Right.
It depends on what the shareholders consider profitable. Now, you could put it against different profit margins of the different things in the same genre, but like, I don't know. I guess there's like that risk factor, right? Where like, if you could make all the money quick or some of the money or the same amount of money over the course of 12 years instead of 2, I could see people wanting to grab that when they can because they're not sure what's going to happen in 12 years. Like, I get that. But there's also a matter of realizing that the way you are making money is through the work of other people.
Yes.
And there has to be like a moral give and take if that makes any sort of sense. Like the profits aren't just happening.
Right.
Like people are doing that for you.
Yes.
So maybe take care of the people that are bringing you the profits. This must be the most boring conversation because I know everyone screams it from the rooftops that is not literally on a board of a multi-billion-dollar company or whatever. But like, it just sucks. It sucks because it's such a juxtaposition to why games exist or why games began their existence. Now you could argue many games exist to solely make money. It just sucks.
I don't really play those games though. I play like tiny indie titles that are like breaking even on like $5 sales. So
some of them, but like at the same time, like I go back to Final Fantasy 14 is a big ass game. Mortal Kombat's a big ass game. Like we engage with them, maybe not the same amount as John Q Gamer. Like I don't know, like
John
you know, right? Like it stinks.
Yeah.
I wish I had more sort of constructive things to say.
I feel like screaming about this is legit.
Well, and like Tim Sweeney and Epic, there's many choices I've liked that they've done, and I think this one weirdly, maybe I'm missing some stories, or maybe there's writing on the wall that I'm just not seeing because I can't pay attention to absolutely everything. But like, if ActiBliz did this, I'd be like, "Yup, great." Like okay, like not in a flippant way, but like it's expected.
Yeah, I feel like one of the interesting things is that lots of people kind of feel that way about Epic, and I think it largely comes down to how you perceive each of these entities, right? Because I think there are some people who would feel devastated if Blizzard did it and expect it from Epic, right? Because they're all companies, and I think a lot of the whether or not we expect a company to behave in a certain way is deeply rooted in how we perceive that company to begin with.
Maybe. I think like I will agree to that statement. I think there's some caveats, but yes.
Yeah.
And Turin makes a great point, and we should do this. It just because again, companies, as much as they'd like to make us think they are not people.
Correct. But sometimes when companies misbehave, a bunch of actual people can group together and do something about companies misbehaving. Like the WGA. So
let's talk about something that is happy now.
Yeah, right. Okay, so in brief, writer's strike is over. For now, pending, it's over.
I believe it's a 3-year contract they're on right now.
Correct. And they're voting on the contract this week. So the Writers Guild of America, the WGA, has won several very important provisions. Matt, what are they?
A bunch of them that you can look into some of the more of the exact specifics, but one of the big ones is guaranteed size of writers' rooms, so they're not going to nickel and dime and try to get a whole TV show off of 2 writers locked in a basement. Like, it actually needs to be a certain amount of writers and at varying levels of experience to help actually keep the ability for upcoming writers to not only get work, but learn and continue to become senior writers, showrunners, etc. That's huge because they were trying to cut that out. AI cannot be trained on WGA work, I believe, is one of the big ones anymore. Like, there's weird sort of things that someone like Dr. Aaron would be able to tell us more about that. Maybe we could ask a couple questions if next time she comes back and plays Baldur's Gate or is on here. But basically there's like AI can still be used, but no writer will be forced to use it. No writer will have to use it on a job. And the work that the AI is trained on cannot be WGA work, from what I understand.
And the product of the product of the AI is not considered the same kind of work as work produced by like a WGA writer. It's in its own category if it's used at all.
Yeah. And And actually, this is a really nice, thank you for a comment, Azel, the WGA member, on my way to the SAG picket line to support my sister union. Thanks for covering our strike. It's been a long one. Yes, it has. And thank you for continuing to fight for your union and fight for other unions. We will be getting to other stories through that. I want to get through some of the other things. Numbers disclosed and residuals. So finally, for a streaming thing, which is the exact same type of content that was on cable or other forms of television, now numbers will be disclosed at certain intervals, and writers will continue to get residuals based on numbers. That is huge. That means that writers can now make a living, a more concise living, because projects are, there's only so many projects that can be made, and this ensures that writers can survive between projects. Also, I believe there was some provisions, so this is the one I didn't quite read the most about, that writers now can be guaranteed to be kept on throughout the course of a project's production. Either, just because writing doesn't stop when the writer's room is over, you have to be on set and continue to help with the process. They won that as well. A couple more things. Please go look it all up yourselves if you're interested. The cool thing here, outside of this, I think it's 140 plus, days. Someone in the chat could probably let me know since then. But what I'm hoping is the WGA's historic win. A win that, by the way, all of the studios said what they were asking was impossible and crazy. Oh, yeah? Like,
100, we gave you, it turns out, impossible just means 140 some odd days.
So I'm hoping, and what I want to keep doing on our show, and I hope other shows do this, I hope when the strikes are inevitably over, people keep unionizing, people keep striking. Like, I want this to be a domino effect, because in my lifetime, in a medium that I am I guess passionate about, or that I pay attention, this is the largest thing that's happened for workers' rights in my lifetime. I think in a specific genre of this kind of thing. I might be off in other different ways, but like, let's use this, right? Let's keep going. I think SAG is next to the table. I imagine their deal will be good as well. I think it was very powerful that they both struck at the same time. And other groups are unionizing. The voice actors in many video games, I believe that vote was supposed to happen last week on whether or not they would strike. Is that correct, Will? I'm trying to remember.
I believe that's correct. I believe last week was the vote for that. I don't know the result of that yet. Did not have time to check it this morning. And the first group of video game workers have unionized under IATSE. So it's not the first video game union. We've had that. It's not the first gaming union. We've had that too. But this is the first one to unionize as part of IATSE, which is very interesting. I think the more and more, I think this is probably the route that gets video games the most leverage in the long run. Is having all of the people who are doing the technical work behind the scenes on video games unionized with IATSE, and all of the mocap and voice actors join SAG-AFTRA, and then amazing this, right? Video games will be in the same bucket as all of the other art that gets made using similar labor, and all of those workers will unionize and negotiate together. And would you look at that? That's probably just the best solution.
Yeah. I mean, and we're seeing some historic things with unions in general. President Biden, not to turn this into extra politics, went to the picket line for the auto workers strike.
Yep. That was, we're going to talk about that on Wednesday. That was weird, y'all. That was weird. Like that went from he's going to go support the union workers to he's going to be on the picket line, which is, I believe, a first.
So this is my, so no matter how you feel about that, I personally think it's awesome. Yeah. No matter how you feel about that, you cannot deny that that is a historic moment in unionization.
Yes.
For a sitting American president.
Yes.
To go and stand on a picket line.
Yep. 100%. Yeah. That.
So that to me, and this is the weird thing. This is the cool, terrible, awesome, nightmarish thing about the entirety of this process. It is difficult, and it is long, and people have suffered for it. But it works. I don't know, weirdly, if for whatever reason, personal belief, where his cabinet would want him to do, like suggestions from advisors, etc. If the writer's strike had not been so long, so hard, so well publicized, then SAG fell in, then all of these high other things where union is on the public conscience, if that would have moved into the calculus to go stand with the auto workers for a sitting president in a upcoming election, it's not the election year yet, but it's moving as quickly as it possibly can. Like all of those things,
yes.
All of those things keeps on slipping into the unions. But like all of those things build on each other.
Yes.
So it's just really cool and nice to see that people's work and really being forward and clear with their desires and what their labor is valued at seems to be moving a needle in a positive direction.
Absolutely. Speaking of people working together towards a common monetary goal, our last story for today is kind of an interesting one. So, do you remember that KOTOR2 was supposed to have, that's Knights of the Old Republic 2, was supposed to have DLC on the Switch, and then they didn't?
Yes.
Okay, do you remember how they were like, we're sorry, you can have any of these titles. We're not going to be able to do it. You can have all of this stuff instead.
We actually did cover this. We said basically like this is a garbage thing, but it's if they have to stop it for whatever reason, it is probably the best possible PR move they could do to give away titles where the content that they promised would be available somewhere else.
Correct. Well, that wasn't good enough, and now a whole bunch of people are suing Aspire Media, I believe it's Aspire, in a class action. Yep, it's Aspire Media. I got it right.
There you
go. In a class action lawsuit. So it'll be very interesting to see how that shakes out from a what this means for the industry perspective. I think it'll be a very interesting story if they actually win big money. Essentially, the lawsuit focuses on the fact that the product was advertised as having restored content DLC, and they never would have bought it to begin with if that claim was not true. So it's probably a false advertising lawsuit, and we're going to see how that shakes out.
Because while I do think that in the unclassy move of canceling this thing, what they did was probably a classy move in and of itself. It's actually not enough, I don't believe, in the sense for people that bought the game on a specific platform where they might not want the other game that you're giving them. They might not have a PC for you to be able to play the thing on. Like, they bought it specifically
to play the DLC. And because of the way that refund windows work, the lawsuit further alleges that because they were waiting for the DLC to come out to play the game, they couldn't get a refund.
Yep.
And then the product was then worthless to them because they only wanted to play it with the DLC and couldn't get a refund for it, and that was part of the bet. So this will be very interesting. I don't know what the long-term impact in the industry will be of this lawsuit going one way or the other. But I do think this is going to be a thing that we're going to want to keep an eye on as it progresses through the court system, because it may have a broader impact on the way that DLC in games is advertised and the way that upcoming features are advertised in games. If there's a legal precedent for people to sue based on undelivered features at a later date. So,
this actually, it makes I don't know.
Yeah, right. It's weird. It's at the end because it's just weird. Like, I don't know what to do with it. I don't know what to think about it. It's weird.
I'll be really curious to see where it lands.
I agree. Absolutely agree. That brings us to the last segment of our show.
Hey!
Where we do some questions and stuff. So we had a couple of last week we talked about streaming. and Flixel Sticks, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So, questions and comments from the audience. First question. Instead of a credit card number, what if we paid Flixel Sticks in NFTs? Will the crypto authentication codes be sufficient? That's from Medusa Skirt. Matt,
it's a great question, Medusa. I think... Okay. I would prefer... and I don't want to speak for Flixel Sticks, which, by the way, I completely own and operate. But as a standing board member of Flixel Sticks, whose fiduciary duty is to Flixel Sticks LLC, I would say that I would really like all our content to be only available exclusively using the and I know that the naming convention is a little weird, but we like it here in the office, the Stixelflix cryptocurrency.
Uh-huh.
That is how everything should be run, is through that. So NFTs, not so much, unless we can sort of figure out a way to work the Flixel Sticks names into that anagram.
Yeah.
Or, I think that'd work.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And then
I love that everyone's talking about Flixel Sticks still.
Yeah.
This is I don't...
No, Matt.
Keep it going. Keep it going.
Here on the Twitch channel, they never let this go. We talked about spherical cows once during Endwalker release years ago.
Sure.
Right? And that was it's still an ongoing gag. Next up, from GTD Aquitaine, I
Yes.
Netflix series enjoyed it a lot, but I wasn't watching enough to justify keeping it. However, my dad was, so I kept it. Then Netflix cracked down on account sharing. So the value of the service was cut in half, so I dropped it down to just Crunchyroll and Curiosity Stream now, which I thought was we had a lot of feedback. A lot of people were talking about how many streaming services they keep or hang on to or remove themselves from. And I thought that this was a really good point because as they cut down on the number of people who are allowed to use accounts, the value of that subscription is diminished radically because multiple people aren't sharing it.
Yeah.
Right.
And I really enjoyed sort of seeing the numbers and what people were dealing with here. Like, I think that we are, as they continue to nickel and dime, this is based on stories from last week, as they continue to nickel and dime with commercials and other things, we're just going to see people that are like, nope, I'm going to rotate or I'm going to have these two and that's it. And it's going to segment again and it'll just be same as it ever was.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. And then our last question, which Matt is very qualified to answer, is is also on streaming. From Mel MU80X. I know there's some fun, correct way to pronounce that.
Mel Mubox.
Yeah, cool, great. I spend very little, but I've been considering Nebula since YouTube just doesn't seem to give me as many good videos anymore. But not really sure what Nebula is. Are they planning to sell their platform? Seen the Lifetime thing they've been selling lately? Seems like they're looking to make the stock price go up faster. Matt, can you comment on that? What is Nebula? Why would someone want it? And what's up with the Lifetime subscription?
It's funny. The in my head when someone asks what Nebula is, it's the creator-owned and operated streaming service by us and a bunch of our favorite creators. That's the sort of the byline that we talk about a bunch of times. But Nebula is actually something I think very, very special. Basically, it is a creator-owned and operated streaming service, meaning they're actually like. I'll get to the sort of second part about the Lifetime things. But there is no stock price. Like, it's not publicly traded.
Oh.
So Nebula is basically a place where, and you should look at the roster if you're thinking about signing up, because basically we're on there, all of our shows are there. Folks like Legal, Tierzu, Wendover. I don't want to turn this into a Nebula commercial because whatever, but like there's a ton of stuff there. They do originals, Patrick Willems, Night of the Coconuts on there, Abigail Thorne of Philosophy Tube fames, amazing Shakespearean sort of gender bending epic, The Prince, which was an actual play that Nebula produced and shot in the round in London, and you can watch the thing. I went to a premiere of a screening of it. It's brilliant. There's just a bunch of cool stuff, to answer the question about the Lifetime things, because Lifetime, you hear that and you're like, oh man, that's weird. Like you're selling a Lifetime. What odd thing is this? And when we first heard it, I thought that too. But what Nebula is doing is actually really, really cool, in my opinion. basically they're, rather than go out and hunt for things like, you know, VC funding or like other things to sort of like make it less creator owned, they're doing these sporadic lifetime, basically, you can sign up for a lifetime, you pay a larger amount of money up front, and then that's it, and you have it for as long as Nebula's a thing. This money is going basically, especially if you sign up with a creator's code, a decent amount of the portion of the money you sign up for Nebula goes to that creator. So say you signed up with extra credits or extra history. We get a bump of that subscription for as long as that subscription is running. So if it's a lifetime, we get a big chunk there. But if it's, weirdly, this is the odd thing. It's actually, in my opinion, healthier if you're planning on like, it is a better deal for the creators, I think, if you do an annual subscription over time. But, and it might even be a better deal for you depending on how long you're in the ecosystem or whatever, but the lifetime just lets you never have to think about it. And the lifetime is a quick infusion of cash to help out producing larger and weirder and bigger Nebula originals without having to look for outside funding. I know Jesse Gender is working on the short film with Dr. Aaron, Identities. That's a Nebula being produced. Now that the strike's over, I know that's moving forward. I'm super excited about that. I don't know. So that's the onus as why Lifetime is there. And I think it's a really interesting value prop. Again, Lifetime is not the best deal, but it's the best way to support new, bigger content from the creators in the Nebula group.
It's a call for people who want to see more content like that without it being a call for investing, right? It's hey, would you like to see more content like this? Cool. Here's the deal.
Yeah.
You give us a chunk of cash now so we can make sure that that continues on into the future. And whatever we do, for as long as, you know, whichever of us is alive, the shortest, I guess, lives, you'll get to see, right? That's it, right? And that's a really cool deal.
And thank you all, by the way, for those of you, I'm seeing some people in the chat saying that they signed up for one Nebula thing or the other. And actually, it's funny, is it 2 weeks from now? We have a Nebula ad coming up on the channels, on history and credits coming through down the pipeline. And one thing I felt like our Nebula ads in the past, while they were fun, I really do like what we've done with them. I don't think I explained what I just explained to you as clearly, especially when it comes to sort of Lifetime or other things. So we're trying something a little different. And I think, will this be on? I don't remember what episodes this will be on. It'll be in the coming weeks. You'll see it. Where actually, to get more of like, I feel like, again, in this format, I can tell you, like, I hope you can see on my face, like, this is something I actually believe in. Like, IRL Matt, myself, we shot a thing on a studio, and I walk in and talk to animated Matt. And then I do the rest of the ad read as me. It's weird and fun, and I've been working on the compositions for it last week into this week. It's going to go to edit this week. I'm very excited to see if that's something that resonates when I can actually tell people more succinct than this, but still my face, why I think it's something special and why I believe in it. So, yeah. There'll be, if you're interested, even though this wasn't technically a sponsored thing, in the description, there'll be a link to the Nebula signups. And this show is on Nebula and will not have ads, like YouTube placed ads in the middle. Like, that's kind of the pull for this specific show. If you're not watching it on Twitch and you don't want ads in the middle, Nebula is the place to go and support. So, yeah. Sorry, that was long. I apologize.
No, it was good. It was good. I knew we were going to get there. All right. That is unfortunately going to be all the time that we have for our episode today. All that remains to us, after all of these questions and stories and much nonsense going on in the world around us, is for Matt to do the one thing that keeps us constant, the one beacon of stability here in the land of this animated breakfast kitchen. Matt, could you please do our outro?
I absolutely could. I think in these trying times, I want to make sure that when we're changing names, we're talking about different channels and we're doing different streaming services and we're talking about companies moving their people around and everything, that the one thing is always, always, always the same at the end of this show. So Will, I leave you with this.
Bonjour, je suis le grand Muzzy.
Je suis la jeune fille.
Yes, that's French they're speaking. And no, these children aren't French. They're American.